The Ohio Harness Horsemen's Association presents Freshman Focus, a look at 2-year-olds in training across the Buckeye State. Freshman Focus is presented by Eldorado Scioto Downs. Racing begins May 8th with the next generation July 5th. By Sugar Valley Farm. Looking for your next quality standard-bred racehorse? Look no further than Sugar Valley Farm in Delaware, Ohio. By Prolific Equine, managing stallions and mares to create champions. By the Ohio State Veterinary Medical Center, caring down to a science. And by Wire to Wire Wealth, strategies tailored to your needs.
For this edition of Freshman Focus, we've traveled to the Winner's Circle Training Center south of Scioto Downs on just off of Route 23 to visit with Virgil Morgan Jr., a large stable of nearly 100 horses, 26 of which are 2-year-olds, and we're going to take a look at his 10 featured Ohio breds. Joining us on the broadcast this year is Ashley Daly, and a little later on in the show, Ashley will be going to the various stalls to take a closer look, along with Trey Morgan, about those 2-year-olds. So welcome to Freshman Focus.
Well, I appreciate it, Roger. I am so happy to be here to give you guys an inside look at hopefully some up-and-coming champions for 2025.
You know, in last year, in 2024, we had like 6 or 7 horses that won in excess of $100,000. So you may see a future champion right here on Freshman Focus. And after this message, we'll have our sit-down interview with trainer Virgil Morgan.
At Ohio State's Galbraith Equine Center, our veterinary champions are here for your champions 24/7, 365 days a year. Our expert team of boarded surgeons, sports medicine and rehabilitation specialists, together with veterinary cardiologists, internal medicine, and ophthalmologists, make our hospital your best resource for all sport horse performance issues. The Ohio State Veterinary Medical Center's Galbraith Equine Hospital. Call us today at 614-292-6661.
Welcome back to Freshman Focus for our sit-down interview with trainer Virgil Morgan Jr. Virgil, what kind of a year did you have with your 2-year-olds last year?
I would say good. I was happy. We had the 2-year-old filly pacer of the year, Odds on Hialeah, for Dana Odds on Racing and Dana Parham and Let It Ride stable. We had a runner-up in there, 2-year-old filly, Odds on Chesapeake, and 2-year-old filly trotter won, Aunt Laura. We won the Buckeye final with Travel Nurse, 2-year-old filly trotter. I think all between the 2- and 3-year-olds, we won 7 finals between Ohio and Kentucky. So I was, as a whole, I was happy. You always want to have them all win, but I was happy.
The most money your stables won in a single year was last year, $5.3 million.
Yeah, you know, the money in Ohio and the money in Kentucky, it's just it's great geographically. We're in the right place. I think years ago, you know, you needed to be on the East Coast, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, but I think that's changed now. I think Pennsylvania has taken a big hit, and I think our Sire Stakes program has exceeded them, and quite frankly, any state. I think Ohio and Kentucky definitely the place to be.
Now, how are those top 2-year-olds coming back as 3-year-olds?
Real good so far. I've been in 2-5 pretty much with all the 3-year-olds, and no hurry. The first leg of the Sire Stakes, May 16th, May 17th at Scioto. So we'll have a couple 3 qualifiers in them, maybe 1 start, but they'll be ready.
Now, it seems to me at least, in the last few years, your stable size has grown. And seeing that you've almost got 2 full barns now, how many total horses are you training?
So, you know, years ago when Scioto was good, I was pushing 100 there, 100 horses, and then, you know, when the state got kind of depressed here, I dipped down to the 50, 60 range, and now it's back up to 100, which is, you know, both barns are side by side. It's very manageable. I've got great help. I've got more than enough help, and yeah, it's worked out good.
You mentioned Trey. He's invaluable for you in your operation.
I can't say enough about him. Never really knew that he wanted to do this. Out of high school, he went to the University of Cincinnati for a couple years, and then he came home, and he's just a huge part daily with me. He trains with me. He takes care of the track. He grades it every Sunday. He takes a lot of pride in his work, and he just absolutely loves the horses. He owns quite a few with me, and he's excited about that. So
knowing you, that's probably the greatest thing that's happened to you in harness racing is that your son's getting involved.
Yeah, it is. You know, I didn't know if I wanted to wish this upon him, but the way he's taken it on, yeah, I'm, you know, we're together every day. He's in my office. We talk in the morning. I mean, I'm up extremely early, between 3:30 and 4 a.m. in the morning, and he'll text me at 5 a.m. about a third dam on pedigree, and I'm like, what are you doing? You know, he should be sleeping. Let me get up that early. But no, he's borderline obsessed with the business now, and that's a good thing.
Now today we're taking a look at 10 of your 2-year-old Ohio breds, but how many 2-year-olds do you have in training this year?
I've got 12 trotters, 19 pacing fillies, and 20 pacing colts.
And has the weather been good for you? Now you're one of the few trainers that stays here, and I guess it's because you got your own training facility and such. Others go to Florida and such. Has the weather been good for you, training and getting these horses down and ready to go to the track?
Yeah, it's been a pretty good winter. You know, I've always said I would much rather train here. I don't have to make the transition of shipping to Florida. I don't have to make the transition of coming back, getting sick. You know, I think a lot of guys go to Florida and they train on the mile track, and they come back and finish them off on the half-mile track. And I just don't, me personally, I don't think that's a good recipe to go from 2 turns to 4 turns to finish them off. So we're here. I think the horses get acclimated to the weather. I think it's healthier for them, me personally. And you know, I don't own a boat and I don't golf, so going to Florida does nothing for me.
Have you missed any days of taking the horses to the track?
Not really. Just, I would say a few. You know, but in comparison to Florida, they have their rain days, and the tracks there get crazy bad. You know, and they have their days. But all in all, in the winter, you're probably looking at about, you know, between 10 and 14 bad days that you're going to have, and you know, we can deal with that. And again, I like the fact that the horses they deal with the elements, and I think it's you know, it's worked for me.
In past years, I think you've told us that, or at least I mentioned to you that the dam is so important in picking young horses, but you go even a little further than that, not beside the dam, but you're a firm believer of getting the right stallion, horses that have proven themselves on the racetrack and won big races.
Yeah, I think that's really proven. I think, you know, I tell my son and my daughter, Kiara, you know, when you pick up a Breeders' Crown book, a Little Brown Jug book, that's inevitably what you're going to the sale for. Mm-hmm. You're trying to get a champion, and show, obviously the dams mean a lot, mm-hmm. But show me the sires, mm-hmm. and you're not going to see any, I don't want to say bad sires, but you're going to see you know, 5 dominant sires, and, mm-hmm. and you're going to see Captain Treacherous down by the seaside, and those horses, those sires seem to flourish.
Looking over the 10 that you've chose to feature today, I see 7 of them are down by the seasides. Was that intentional?
Yeah. So Dana Parham and I, he's my major partner client. We've developed a great relationship, and the approach this year was to try to get, and it always is, but he breeds so many horses too. But going to the sales, to try to get the best quality for hopefully that next champion. And I call him Seaside Dana. He calls me Seaside Virgil right now because we bought so many of them. And so far, I'm really happy with what we've got.
Are we going to see a horse named Seaside Virgil and Seaside Dana?
I don't know. That's I don't name them. I think I own part of 7 babies this year, and I didn't name any of them. So
of course, Dana names all his horses odds-on racing, with odds-on terminology. But so almost all the horses that you buy, you do change the names on them.
Yeah, he does. I think that, again, that's up to the individual owner of what they want to do and how they want to go about it. I did have one name I liked this year that they changed, but other than that, it doesn't bother me.
Yeah. Now, today, 9 sets of horses training. You believe, a firm believer in racing, getting them ready in sets where they actually have competition in their training miles.
Yeah, I really don't like to train. The odd horse I'll train by itself if they're a little hot or unruly, but as a whole, the babies always train together. They're always on a helmet. We try to teach them manners. I think most great horses, or all great horses, learn to keep their composure, and they have manners. They're not unruly. So we work on that a lot, and they're herding animals, and I think you can make an okay horse a good horse, and get it to the races by following, and they'll learn to pass. But the main thing is right now, keep them in groups, keep them together, and good attitudes. I'm really looking for attitudes right now. The horses that want to do their work. A
lot of movement when you train horses?
Not a whole lot. I'm a believer. The typical philosophy is to pull and pull up beside another horse, with a baby, and I think there's a couple ways to look at that. You could teach them to hang. When we pull, we want them to pass. So, we jog all of ours the right way on the days that we train, and we leapfrog and pass during that. But during the miles, I pick my spots on when to pull. The second trainers are never allowed to pull if a horse is not loaded and feel good. Don't ever pull one and chase it. Always keep a good attitude, and right now, try not to make them tired. In a bad way.
Now, you can't sit behind every single horse every day or anything like that, but how do you handle that as the main trainer, sitting behind horses? You mix it up, or how do you do it?
Yeah, so I have a system. I rotate horses each set, and so I take a different horse each time, and it works out really well with the system that we have.
Now, your assistant trainers are very important because they also report to you about their horse's activity in those training miles.
Real good. I can't say enough about my help. Every time we pull up, I talk to every one of them immediately, so it's fresh. And then I come in and make notes. It takes me 30 seconds. Are we adding the head pole? Are we taking one off? Are we changing a bit? We taking how? I don't like to wait until the end of the day to do that. So we're making notes after each training trip to get them as good as possible.
Well, we thank you for sitting down and talking to us about the Morgan operation here at Winter Circle. And after this important message, Ashley Daly is joining us on the broadcast, and she'll be going through the barn and taking a look at all 10 of Virgil Morgan Jr.'s Ohio breds in training for Freshman Focus.
With over 30 years of experience in wealth planning and a lifetime of involvement in harness racing, Matt Franklin at Wire to Wire Wealth can help you build a financial plan that addresses the unique circumstances of those involved in the horse racing industry. Whether you are investing to build wealth, protect your family, or preserve your assets, Matt at Wire to Wire Wealth will work with you through the wealth planning process from start to finish.
Captain Kirk is standing his second year in 2025 here in the state of Ohio, and he's attracting some of the best brood mares in the entire industry. You want to breed to a stallion that can step your mare up. And if you're breeding to sell those foals, you have to breed to the stallion that the biggest bidders will pay a premium to acquire. Captain Kirk stands at Winterwood Farm, and his introductory stud fee of only $3,000 ends after the 2025 season. So book your mare today. Write down this website. Go to CaptainKirkInfo.com to get all the details right now.
Racing returns to El Dorado Scioto Downs. Catch the excitement all summer long, beginning May 8th. Live racing every Tuesday through Saturday nights. First race post time is 5:45. Mark your calendar to see the future stars with the $150,000 Next Generation July 5th. Thrilling harness racing at El Dorado Scioto Downs. Horse players can earn points with the Caesars Rewards program. El Dorado Scioto Downs. Racing returns May 8th.
Our first stop is Odds On Legendary, a colt pacer by Down by the Seaside out of Sterling Delilah, an Art Major mare. Trey, what can you tell us about Odds On Legendary?
Odds On Legendary is just one that when Mr. Parham, my father and I, we went to Rose Run there at the Jug Select Sale and we saw him for the first time. He just stole our attention. He was one that definitely caught your eye, stood out from the rest of them. And ever since then, I had a good feeling we'd have a shot at him, but ever since we brought him home, just been a pleasure, nothing but a pleasure to work with. Got his job really quick, been nothing but a good attitude, so no complaints so far.
So you say caught your eye. Why?
Just a stellar looking horse, great conformation. You'll see him on the track, but you can't tell. I mean, you can. Look at his neck. He's just a specimen in and of himself.
That's what actually I was going to comment. He's a pretty stout little colt.
Yeah,
looks like our stall might be set down a little bit. So maybe he's a little bit taller than he looks, but.
Not too leggy himself, more of a stout build to him, but definitely a good looking one.
I was actually pretty excited to see him on the list because his original name before Dana bought him was Rose Run Butler. I believe he was a cell topper.
He was, 140,000 at the Delaware, Circleville rather, select sale. Very happy to come home with him, to say the least.
Have you noticed any quirks about him? Have there been any growing pains getting
So I get here every morning in the morning, and he is a jolly ball man. He has, you can probably see him in there, he's got 2 or 3 jolly balls at all times. Got them all out in the aisleway when I come in first thing in the morning, and we play soccer as soon as we get in here. I kick him back and forth to him. He drags him along the wall, but full energy, great attitude, loves his work, no complaints.
Of course, buy Down by the Seaside, but where do you really think that $140,000 price tag came from?
Rose Run's just doing a phenomenal job with their yearlings. I have to give it to them. We got another filly that we'll be touching on here in a little bit, and she come from them, obviously. Just looking just as good, if not better than this colt, if that's even possible. I just can't stress enough how good those things come looking from Rose Run this year. And
I believe he was just a jogger for us this morning, so we didn't get to see him train down, but how fast has he been going?
So right now we're in between 25, 20, creeping down slowly, but yeah, no complaints so far. Like I've continuously said, he's just happy to be doing it, and we're happy to have him doing it.
And there is Odds On Legendary. We're going to switch gates and head over to the Trotters. Here we have a gelding, Leave No Trace, by Volstead out of Image Her Reign, an Uncle Peter mare.
So that's actually one of the parts about this colt I found most fascinating was the, some people refer to it as talio breeding, line breeding, for the lack of a better term, inbreeding. But he's actually out of an Uncle Peter mare, as you said, which is a Cantab Hall, and I found that extremely interesting, being how close they were on the sire side and the dam side with the sires, Volstead being a Cantab Hall too. So he definitely stood out for that, and his size. He's another one of those we pulled out and we're like, all right, big boy, great looking. Again, minimal rigging, no boots, great attitude. Freshly gelded, was getting a little antsy. It wasn't affecting his work, however, not a bit on the track. You can kind of tell still in him. It was just a few days ago, but a little bit of a handful in the barn. So we did end up going towards gelding him, but no complaints on the track. Strictly business out there.
Now, when it comes to the difference between trotters and pacers, do you ever find yourself, when it comes to size, would you prefer the larger trotter? Does it matter?
I don't. You know, when I first started, my dad had a horse by the name of Action Uncle that was just, he defied all logic, did not look like he could trot an ounce to some people, but obviously ended up being a world champ. And he's the complete opposite build to him. So no, I wouldn't say we necessarily look for any particular build with a trotter. He's definitely got that European look, the Volstead look to him. A little leaner, taller, just sportier looking than some of the American trotters. But yeah, his look is, if there was a picture perfect look for a trotter, I'd say he's very, very near it.
And there is Leave No Trace. Another filly pacer, odds on Olentangy, down by the seaside, out of a Better's Delight mare known as Miss L.A. Trey, bring us up to speed on what she's been doing.
So we bought her at Lexington for $150,000 from Dio Valente, and again, she's one that really stood out. Her page, her dam Miss L.A. not so proven herself. However, she threw Rodeo Drive Dio, market 50, give or take a $500,000 earned his freshman season. And it was the same paternal cross, Captain Treacherous, you know, the Sun Beach line. So we were chomping at the bit to get to see her. And then once we saw her, you know, just big, beautiful filly. Arguably one of the best looking fillies we got in here. No boots, just great work ethic so far.
What's her temperament like?
She is a bit of a moody filly. She could get very hot very quickly in the wrong hands. But again, we got the greatest group of guys taking her every day. Never have to worry about anything. She's always on a helmet. We're just teaching her to follow. She can get a bit hot, and we're just trying to teach her to mind her manners, sit in a pocket, you know, and tow around there.
And you mentioned that she's kind of the top of on your list. Can you give us some insight?
Just a beautiful gaited filly, and she wants to do it. Her mind is in the right place. She just has to learn to bottle that up a little bit and retain that energy for when we need her to use it, opposed to just being a runoff. So, like I said, in the wrong hands, I think she could become a disaster, but we got a great group of guys working with her, nothing to worry about, and she's coming along very nicely. Every day you take her, she gets a little better.
And there is odds on Olentangy. Our next stop is odds on Equity, a filly pacer. You guessed it, another down by the seaside out of Python Blue Chip, a roll with Joe mare. This is one I believe you just purchased for $50,000, kind of on the cheaper side for the Virgil Morgan Jr. stable.
You could say that. She stood out to us, being a Python Blue Chip's a roll with Joe, and statistically speaking, that has been the most promising cross with down by the seaside. So she instantly stood out to us. That, again, with her build, just another big, beautiful, looking like her dad filly. Great attitude. There was something I found interesting about her. That odds on Legendary we touched on earlier, they actually share. Her second dam is odds on Legendary's third dam, which we're always looking for family. I found it quite interesting. Both of these things had shared that on the maternal side, but yeah, we were very happy to come home with her. She's been going great, no complaints, no boots, no rigging. So
she seems to be a pretty relaxed, quiet filly.
Yeah.
Is she like that on the track, or how do you wake her up?
No, I actually love it, being relaxed. You know, she knows what her job is. She's all business out there, and yeah, this is her time to relax. So I love this, just being nice and docile. She did her work today already. She knows it. She's got her hay bag. She's about to eat lunch here any minute now, and that's actually probably why she's being so nice. She thinks I'm about to walk in there with a bran mash, but yeah, I love when they pipe down like this after a training day.
There is odds on Equity. We're going to stick with another colt pacer, Star Blazer, down by the seaside out of Shock Value, a shadow play mare. Trey, fill us in.
So again, another one that kind of stood out right out of the gate for us. Little unique. We have another one, Paint, Pimlico, whatever you want to call it, Pieball, I've heard it called. a little bit of white on him. So we checked him out right off the bat for owner of ours that does have that other paint colt, but ended up going to another stable, owner of ours, QT Stables, and I think we paid $90,000 for him. And I think the biggest thing for us that stood out on him was the second dam, the same paternal cross to Down by the Seaside through. Pretty prominent Ohio Pacer slingshot a few years back, so that was definitely in the back of our minds. But just big, another really good looking Seaside colt. Definitely got his daddy's genes. Big, great conformation, no boots. Loving his work so far. So again, another one, no complaints. You're going to hear that a lot, essentially, but yeah, it's true.
When you're headed to the Ohio Select, which I think a lot of, I mean, of course, outside of some homebreds that you are training, that's where you've gotten a lot of your horses. What are you looking for when you're viewing all these yearlings for the first time?
So pedigree, my dad's always told me the facts don't lie. Back in the day, you had a few flukes, out of smaller sires, but anymore, you got to pay to play. If you want a real horse, you really got to pay for these top sires. And so again, Ohio being our home base, we predominantly go in there looking for, on the pacing side, predominantly C-sides. He's proven, his track record's proven. He's single-handedly helping take our program in Ohio to the next level. And yeah, that's one of the biggest things is just obviously going down the line, top sires, yeah.
And so circling back kind of his coloring, he does have, it's hard to miss, that white leg. Any kind of superstition to those, white hooves? Have you had any problems of shoeing or being on the hard surfaces?
My father's always kind of been a little weary of a white eye, but no, not too much superstition around here, no.
And there is Star Blazer by Down by the Seaside. Next, we have See Me, a filly pacer by Down by the Seaside out of Single Me, a Better's Delight mare. This was a homebred for the Let It Ride stables.
Yeah, so this is one of 6 we got from that group. It's 6 homebred Seasides, Eric Cherry and Dana Parham bred. We were ecstatic to get them. Anything those guys bring to the table is legitimate, and again, we were very happy to receive these 6. She's one of the better of the 6 right now. I shouldn't say better, but she's one that's standing out. Just clean-legged, no rigging. We've actually opened her up all the way to jog, no overcheck, crouper to jog. Just she's getting a little antsy about her job, so we're trying to keep her as calm as possible. But yeah, just great work ethic so far, money on the track.
How is she lining up compared to the colts?
She could very easily go with the colts. I mean, as most of them could, but she right on the same mark. We train her solely with fillies, obviously, but she's definitely at the top of our class for the pace of fillies right now. And
is she still going around that 225 mark, or she?
Yeah, gradually creeping down a little faster. 22, 23 is the mark this week.
And of course, we just kind of finished off that nomination deadline, assuming that everything we're talking about today is staked to the sire stakes and across the board?
Mm-hmm. Yep. He goes to the fair circuits regardless, and yeah, Buckeye Stallion and sire stakes for almost everything.
And there was our first filly, See Me. Rounding out our filly pacers, odds on Dividend, a Down by the Seaside out of Rose Run Ultimate, a Western vintage mare. This is another one purchased out of the Ohio Select for about $100,000.
Yeah, so she was the second filly out of the mare, or I'm sorry, second full, first filly, so that stood out to us a little bit. But again, she was one that we had marked down to look at, and when we got to Rose Run and pulled her out, it was just stellar looking at her. I mean, she looked like a woman amongst girls. Just huge rear end, great stand-in. You'll see her on the track. She's just a monster of a filly, so she definitely stood out to us, and had to pay some to get her, but I'm very glad she came home with us.
For Dana and the odds-on stable, Is he really looking to continue expanding his brood mares? Is that like some of the fillies, his attributes he's looking for?
Yeah, so he constantly, almost a daily basis, I'd say. I don't know that there's anybody watching like he is and actively looking to improve his broodmare band. It's unparalleled what he's doing with his mares right now, and he's following suit, trying to get him a sire, and knock on wood, we're going to try to get him one. But yeah, the fillies, he's always been big on fillies, obviously the residual value, and I think we have just about equal, if not maybe a little more colts this year. But yeah, he's definitely always looking for a good filly to improve that broodmare band.
And how is her mind on the track?
Great, same as the others. Just happy to be here. She's been loving every minute of it. She could get a little on the hot side too, but nothing terrible. I mean, at this point, it's never a bad thing as long as you can help them contain it and save that for when they need it.
And there is Odds on Dividend. Our next stop, we're sticking with Down by the Seaside colt Odds on Anonymity. Out of Better Than Graduate, a Better Than Cheddar mare. Trey, this one does have a little bit of pedigree, some siblings, so why don't you give us an overview of this horse?
Yeah, so obviously half brother to Steve Carter's Phenom 2-year-old filly last season, Pappy Grad. Obviously for that reason, he stood out a little bit at the sale. That combined with the fact he's down by the seaside. He was definitely one that I was rooting to get. He stood out a lot to us. The second dam made over $1 million, was a well-proven mare, mark of 51 and change. I think the third dam as well was a really fast mare, mark of 51. So yeah, we were chomping at the bit to get this guy, and head over heels happy when we brought him home.
Looks like he was a purchase of about $105,000. Pappy Grad, what you just had mentioned, made a little over, I think, $250,000. So would you say it's a steal? Well, we'll see.
I thought it was a fair price myself. Easy to say. I'm not the one doing the bidding. But I definitely could have seen him bringing a little more than that, especially, with that filly's recognition. Might have brought a little more attention to him, but yeah, I'm not complaining.
Your dad has been really complimentary of how you've come into a stable and really been his right-hand man. When it comes to these babies, or from purchasing, down to our first couple of training sessions, how has that relationship with your dad worked? Are you pretty open and comfortable of saying, hey, let's do this, or maybe not?
I am, yeah. My dad's always told me, especially with rigging horses, there's no rules, You can pretty much do everything you want with these things, rigging wise. So we do think outside of the box a lot of times. Yeah, my father, his track record's proven. So for the lack of a better way to put it, this has just become my religion, and my dad's philosophies have become my Bible. The past few years I've been working for him. Just following everything like a creed, like a code, down to a T. Crossing your T's, dotting your I's, and it'll come to you.
And so we've seen quite a few hay bags outside of these stalls. Looks like some nice hay. What is their feed regimen? How do you differentiate between each of the horses? Are they pretty much on the same thing?
So we actually pride ourselves on our free feed program. Constant 365, 24/7 access to hay. Great feed program. They're all starting to get a little mash now for lunch, now that training's picking up. But we try to keep, they're athletes, and we try to keep a little weight on them. We're not, I would like to think, you look around the paddock, I think ours carry a little more weight. Happy horse is a good horse. Just keep them happy, keep them eating. An athlete's eating, so same philosophy.
Do you and your dad kind of rely on the caretaker for some of those, more detailed information?
Oh yeah, certainly. This is so much more of a group effort than anybody realizes. The trainer, second trainer, whatever, drivers, they get all this publicity and attention. But without these guys, not only do you can't just tell somebody to do something, that's one thing, whether or not it gets done. You got to be able to depend on the guys you're telling to do the stuff. And everybody in here, I will put up against anybody in the country, in the world for that matter. We got the best group of help around, if you ask me, but never anything to worry about. You say it, it's done. And yeah, everybody here is contributing in their own way, in a shape or form, to the end result we're trying to get after with these guys.
He seems to be a pretty busy colt. Does that translate onto the track at all?
Yeah, again, he's just one. And I sound like a broken record with the good attitude stuff, but I mean, it's just, I've never seen a group of horses this willing to do their job. They just show up every day. No bumps in the road so far. You typically got a couple you have a hard time getting going. Couple that straggle behind and you're 10 seconds back or whatever with them, but this year it's just everybody's just nothing but work, eyes on the prize.
And there is odds on anonymity. Lindy Princess, our only filly trotter on the list. She is a ready for money filly out of Dubai Princess, which is a Trixton mare. This is the first crop of ready for money, right?
Yes, and we were very excited to have the opportunity with a few of them. Like you said, she's out of a Trixton mare. She was, if I recall, she was very, very lightly raced, although she took a mark of 52. And the second dam is the mother of Chapter 7. So her page definitely stood out to us at Lexington. That combined with her look. Not too big, not too small, just the right size, big rear end. We do have the trot and hobbles on her, just to feel them a little bit, but she is coming along great, no complaints so far.
When did you introduce the trot and hobbles? I guess what was that reason? What tricked her?
Just to let her feel them a little bit. It hasn't been too long, and I don't anticipate her wearing them for too much longer, honestly. It's not so much she needs them, it's just a little reminder at times. She feels that pinch her a little and gets her mind right, but I don't anticipate her needing them for much longer.
Now, is she temperamental at all, being a filly trotter and living up to that?
No, she's not. You can see here, she's just an absolute joy, just a little sweetheart. Giving it her all out there, and yeah, no complaints with her so far. Get it.
And there is Lindy Princess, our only filly trotter.
The nicest one, baby.
Finishing us out, we have a gelding trotter, Zane Trace, by Uncle Peter, out of a Yankee Glide mare. She wore red. This one actually has some pretty interesting siblings as well, some producers.
Yeah, so Dick McClellan, Joyce McClellan, they do an excellent job with their brood mares. You never count one out coming from them. She Wore Red actually produced Adamsville Road, very prominent local trotter, mark of 51, a lot of money earned. But the second dam, Tori Ann, has just been a consistent producer of solid racehorses. And yeah, we're hoping he's one of them.
Mm-hmm. I think another half sibling is Burton's Hill.
Yes, correct. Correct.
And that was one that we've seen pretty recently, and I believe your dad trained Burton's Hill.
We just lost him in a claimer not too long ago, but yeah, up until that point, he was a nice horse for us.
Are you seeing any resemblance?
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit. And I'm a little biased towards Uncle Peter's. Some of my favorite trotters of all time, of my father's, are Uncle Peter's. So again, I'm a little biased, but he's coming along great. No complaints so far. All business. He came with a buddy right across the way. They came in the same day. They've been training down every single day together. And both of them just got really good attitudes, all about their business, and yeah, no complaints.
So what are you liking that he is doing on the track so far?
He's just a big, good-looking colt, gorgeous gait, really breaks over nice, covers some ground, and we're not having to get after him too much too early. He's just doing it all on his own, so it's very pleasing when they're willing like that.
And of course, we've talked, many different people will sit behind these horses. Is there ever a point where you and your dad will actually watch them train from the sidelines and not be, directly behind them?
No, so that's part of the reason we rotate who does take them. So throughout the course of their training down, different people will cut the mile with different horses, and we'll be at different locations in the mile. So some days I'll be cutting it, some days I'll be sitting dead last, get a good look at everything. Just really depends on the horses, and we purposely cut the miles with the horses we cut them with and give them an alternating break, so they're not constantly front end, or they're not constantly in the pocket. Everybody gets to experience a little bit of everything. That way, by the time we go to qualify, they're as well seasoned as we possibly can get them.
And there finishes us out, Zane Trace.
Well, that wraps up this edition of Freshman Focus. I want you to join us again next week, same time, same location, for another edition of Freshman Focus. Oh, yeah.
This has been Freshman Focus, a look at 2-year-olds in training across the Buckeye State. Freshman Focus is presented by El Dorado Scioto Downs. Racing begins May 8th with the next generation July 5th. By Sugar Valley Farm. Looking for your next quality standardbred racehorse? Look no further than Sugar Valley Farm in Delaware, Ohio. By Prolific Equine, managing stallions and mares to create champions. By the Ohio State Veterinary Medical Center, caring down to a science. And by Wire to Wire Wealth, strategies tailored to your needs. Freshman Focus is a production of the Ohio Harness Horsemen's Association.